One thing I didn't expect after being laid off at 51 was how relieved I felt. And I know that sounds strange because when people hear laid off, they usually think stress, fear, panic. But honestly, part of me felt free. So in this video, I want to talk about what I regret, what I don't, and some things people never really say out loud about work, money, and retirement. Now, one of the biggest surprises for me was realizing how mentally exhausting work relationships had become. Not the job itself, people, the fakery, the fake conversation, the fake smiles, people pretending to support you, but you can feel they really don't. And after a while, you start becoming fake too, not because you want to, but because you're trying to survive professionally. You're trying to stay professional, trying to avoid the drama and trying to navigate all these different personalities. Have you ever walked into a meeting or walked into a room and immediately feel tension, even though everybody's smiling? Yeah, that part. If you've experienced that before, you know exactly what I mean. And I don't think that I realized how draining that was until I didn't have to deal with it anymore. Because for years, even working from home, my life still revolved around work with all the emails, the meetings, the deadlines, the problems, the constant changes. You know what's crazy? People think working from home automatically means less stress, but sometimes that stress moves into your house. And once all that pressure stopped for me, I noticed something almost immediately. My mind just felt calmer. There was no alarm clocks, no Sunday night anxiety, no waking up already thinking about problems. That part I don't miss at all. But at the same time, there are definitely things I wished I had done differently too. One thing I absolutely do not regret is learning how to live with less. And I know some people hear words like frugal or minimalist and immediately think boring, struggle, sacrifice. But honestly, living simple made my life easier because a lot of people get trapped upgrading everything: a better car, a bigger house, more stuff, more payments. And then one day they realize they built a life that's too expensive to walk away from. And I think a lot of people are buying things just to reward themselves for surviving a stressful life. Like, I hate my job, so let me buy something nice. But then the new bills force you to keep staying at the same job you hate. That cycle is real. And looking back now, living below my means is probably one of the biggest reasons I have options today. Because every time your lifestyle grows, the amount of money you need grows too. And your job stops feeling optional. Have you ever noticed that? Now, some people make good money, but they still feel trapped. And this is the part people really don't see. But one thing that I do regret financially is not taking investing seriously earlier. I think I really became consistent around age 36. So it took me about 15 years to build a six-figure net worth. And when I think about that sometimes, I realize something uncomfortable. A lot of my early adult life was spent trying to recover from mistakes. There was a point where I was practically homeless at age 28. So while some people were building their investments, I was just trying to survive. And I think social media messes people up too, because everybody online acts like life is supposed to happen in perfect order. Graduate young, make six figures early, buy a house young, retire early. And if your life didn't happen that way, you feel behind. But real life doesn't work like that for everybody. Some people spend their 20s surviving. Some people spend their 30s rebuilding. Some people don't become financially stable until later on in life. And that does not mean your future is over. A few good decisions repeated consistently over time can completely change your life. Even if you start late. But honestly, for me, money wasn't the hardest part or the hardest adjustment after being laid off. One thing that I didn't expect was missing the feeling of being needed. Because when you do something for a long time, people rely on you. People call you for answers. You become the go to person. And then one day that just stops. And that feels kind of strange. And I think a lot of people underestimate that part of retirement, especially men, in my opinion. Because sometimes your job becomes part of your identity without you even realizing it. And I think some people prepare financially for retirement, but not really. They don't really prepare emotionally for it. And there are also financial realities people don't talk about or talk enough about, in my opinion, as it relates to early retirement, like losing the employer 401k match, losing HSA contributions, no longer adding to Social Security during your highest earning years, and not being able to contribute to a Roth IRA without earned income. These things matter. And that's why retirement planning is bigger than just hitting a number. You also need to think about all these things you'll be giving up in early retirement. And you also need to think about how will you spend your time? What gives your life meaning? What kind of daily life actually makes you happy? And one thing I really want people to understand is this: retirement doesn't look the same for everybody. For one person, retirement might mean traveling the world. For somebody else, it might mean sitting peaceful in their backyard with a cup of coffee. Some people don't work at all in retirement, while others might still earn a little. Neither one way is wrong. And honestly, I think some people a actually don't want a bigger life. They just want relief. Relief from stress, relief from pressure, relief from, feeling trapped. I think a lot of people spend money trying to impress people they don't even like. Yeah, I said it. They don't even like. Now, there's one regret I've been thinking about more lately. That has nothing to do with money, and that is not having children. And I want to explain this carefully because I'm not saying people should have kids just so somebody can take care of them later. Life doesn't work that perfectly. But as I get older and deal with more health issues, sometimes I think about the future. Who helps you when you get older? Who checks on you? Who's there when life gets harder physically? Sometimes that thought hits harder than financial worries. But I know that life doesn't always go exactly how we planned. And part of getting older is learning how to make peace with the life you actually lived. And maybe that's the biggest thing this experience has taught me. A meaningful life doesn't always look impressive from the outside. Sometimes peace matters more than status. Sometimes freedom matters more than appearances. Sometimes the simple life ends up being the richer life. So let me ask you this question. What matters more to you now? Is it more money or is it more peace? Let me know. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.